The video you're about to see, in my opinion, is truly terrifying. It's a sermon by John Paul Miller where he is talking about personality profiles. And John Paul says that his profile is a D. Now listen, directly from John Paul Miller. Describe himself.
And I started working on it and I got incredibly depressed because I discovered what my personality is. I'm a DI. And I thought, oh God, I wanted to be a pastor, and how can I do that when people don't like D's, they like the S's. The S's are the most popular. The S's are so calm and sweet and steady. And I started feeling like I'm a failure, and why do I have this personality? And I don't want to be this, and maybe I can change myself, and maybe if I pray hard enough, I can be this other personality type. And about that time, my mom called me up, and how you doing? I said, oh, I'm just really depressed. She said, why? I said, Mom, I'm studying all these personality things in the Bible, and I don't like who I am, and I want to be something else. And she said, what are you talking about? And so I sent her, I emailed her all the stuff I'd been studying. About 3 hours later, my mom called me up. She's a high S. She said, John Paul, I'm so depressed. I don't want to be an S. I don't like being so slow and stuff. I want to be a doer. I want to get there. I want to be outgoing like you, John Paul. I want to be able to get stuff done. I said, Mom, I want to be like you. I want to be loving and sweet and kind. And high D weaknesses, okay? I'm not going to look at you when I say this because you D's will kill me. But anyway, here's the high D weaknesses. They're very direct. They're always thinking in their mind, no matter who's talking, they're always thinking this. Get to the point. They're impatient. They can't relax until a project is complete. They lack empathy. They're arrogant, and they can't say. I can't even read it. Anyway, so I'm just kidding. They can't say that they were wrong. Okay, so Genesis 49:9, like a lion who dares provoke him. They're incredibly intimidating to confront. And I told you last week that Donald Trump's a high D, and I'll list a few more in a second. The thing about the high D is out of all the personality gifts, the high D can be used greatly by the devil, just as equal as he or she can be used by Jesus. And I'll show you that. 1 Peter 5:8, the devil roams around like a roaring lion. You know, Lucifer is a high D. Remember, he was in charge of all the worship, seeking whom he may devour. But here's the good news, Revelation 5:5, the Lion of the tribe of Judah has triumphed. Jesus from the root of David. So the high D can do great things. Here's the biggest battle for the high D, okay? Biggest battle. This is the area in which you say, I need Jesus, okay? The biggest battle for the high D is pride. It is their big, obviously, right? You're like, we knew that. We could have told you that. Other high Ds. King Saul was a high D. The devil's a high D. Hillary Clinton is a high D. Hitler is a high D. Don't confuse those two, by the way. Anyway, I'm joking. Now I want to go over some of the high personality strengths. Out of curiosity, how many of you the high D resonated with you, or you have a lot of high D inside of you? Really? Oh, y'all do not need to hang out with each other. None of you need to hang. You will kill each other. Please avoid other high Ds. How many of you are in relationship with the high D? Okay, here we go. Okay, so the high D strengths, and you don't have to write them all down. You can just write one or two that kind of go along with who you are. But high Ds are great in emergencies. They're natural leaders. They handle change very well. They won't give up. They're visionaries. They can see the big picture. Job 4:11 says, the lion perishes for a lack of prey. They're goal-oriented. Proverbs 28:1, the righteous are as bold as a lion. They're ambitious. Amos 3:8, the lion has roared who will not fear. Lions have no fear. The high Ds, they fear nothing. Nothing at all. The only thing they fear is not getting something done today. Proverbs 30:30, a lion mighty among beasts who retreats before nothing. They love challenges. They have to be challenged on a regular basis. So here's some famous high Ds for your notes. King David was a high D. The Apostle Paul, high D. Joshua. Remember, and I just want you to know, when God speaks to people in the Bible, he actually spoke to them based on their personality.
Now, I share that sermon because it comes at a very interesting time of John Paul Miller's life. The date in which this sermon is uploaded is September 5th, 2021. So that means it was probably the previous Sunday, days earlier. But still, the dates are close enough to raise some eyebrows, because on September 6th, 2021, Chris Skinner dies in a tragic drowning accident.
We're learning more about the man who died after being found unresponsive in an Horry County pool. The victim was 40-year-old Christopher Skinner, a paraplegic and a motivational speaker.
Chris is the husband of John Paul Miller's alleged mistress, Susie Skinner. According to several sources, John Paul Miller and Susie began their alleged affair in 2021. But according to Susie, her and John Paul Miller have never dated. But according to emergency family court documents filed in May of 2024 by John Paul Miller's ex-wife, Allison Williams, she said 2 weeks prior to Chris Skinner's death, Chris allegedly went to John Paul Miller and told him to stay away from his wife and kids. Just a few weeks later, John Paul Miller was preaching at Chris Skinner's funeral.
We are here today. It's very, very exciting. I was Chris's pastor to preach a funeral in which I don't have to lie. It's probably my first funeral where I get to say all the truthful stuff, and that's because we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Chris was a child of God, is a child of God, faithful husband, wonderful father, great friend, brother, son.
I have read the police reports of Chris Skinner's accident. There is absolutely nothing in those reports connecting John Paul Miller to the death of Chris Skinner. But according to several sources, they question whether this was an accident. Many believe that Chris Skinner committed suicide. And when you read the police report, it says that Chris, according to the security footage, drives directly into the water. It's tough to tell what Chris was thinking on that day. So far, it's been ruled a tragic accident. But either way, it's a dark time for everyone involved. Truly sad, especially for the children of the Skinners. And there's one other part to this sermon that I found really, really interesting. Because remember, John Paul Miller says divorce is wrong and that you shouldn't do it. Matter of fact, he said that he couldn't bring himself to divorce his wife because the Bible says you shouldn't. Listen to this.
High S. Where are the high S's? Let me see the high S's. Yeah, y'all probably won't raise your hand because you don't want to be noticed or anything like that, but it's okay. You calm, quiet, loving people. High S's, they're pleasant. They avoid strife. They will never file for a divorce. Now, that's a good thing unless you're being abused. If you're being abused or you're in a relationship that is incredibly unhealthy, S is listen. You gotta do what you gotta do, even if it causes a little bit of contention or a little bit of a fight. But they'll never file for a divorce, even if they're getting beat, even if they're getting talked down to every day. They won't do it.